My wife stood up at my retirement party holding a manila envelope like it was a birthday present, and 200 people watched her hand it to me in front of the cake. "One more gift," Davida said into the microphone somebody from HR had left on the podium. "For 34 years of service, I want to be clear about what I knew standing there in my good gray suit holding that envelope while my former coworkers clapped because they thought it was a joke about retirement, maybe a gag gift, a card shaped like a golf club. I knew exactly what was inside it. I'd known for 6 weeks. Let me back up. I'm 61. I spent 34 years at Ashford Steel Fabrication, most of it running the second shift floor. The last 9 years as plant operations manager. Davida and I have been married 29 years. We have 2 kids. Nicolette, 27, works in Denver now, and Tristan, 24, still lives 40 minutes from us and comes over most Sundays. In June, about 10 weeks before the party, I logged into our joint Ameritrade account to move some money before a CD matured, and the balance was wrong. Not wrong like a typo. Wrong like $52,000 had left the account in 6 withdrawals over 10 weeks, each one just under the amount that triggers an automatic verification call from the bank. I didn't say anything to Davida that night. I told myself there was probably an explanation. Maybe she'd moved it to a higher yield account and forgot to tell me. We'd done that before, so I checked our other accounts. I found a new account at a credit union across town, opened in her name only, funded entirely by those transfers. I still didn't confront her. I know how that sounds. But I've watched enough of my coworkers go through divorces to know that the moment you say, "I know what you're doing," the other person either stops leaving the trail or starts moving faster, and either way you lose the chance to actually understand what's happening before you react to it. So I watched. Her phone started staying face down on the counter, which it never used to. She started taking calls out on the back porch with the sliding door shut. I found a torn corner of a business card in the pocket of her jacket when I was taking it to the dry cleaner, just enough left to read Emily Law and a phone number. And in July, I found 3 texts on the family iPad, the one she sometimes used for the crossword app and forgot to log out of her messages on, sent to her sister Oma. One of them said, "He has no idea. It's going to hit different at the party. Everyone will finally see what he's really like." That's the line that changed things for me. Not the money, not the lawyer. That text. Davida and I have had a hard few years. I won't pretend otherwise. My dad died 4 years ago and left me the rental duplex on Winston Street, the one he bought in 1987 and never sold. I kept it in my name only, mostly out of habit, partly because it felt like the last piece of him and I didn't want it folded into anything else. Davida brought it up more than once, said it felt like I was keeping a door open to a life without her. I told her that wasn't it. I'm not sure she ever believed me, and I'll own this part. When retirement got close, I started talking about it in terms of what I wanted. Fishing trips up in the Panhandle, a woodshop in the garage. I said my time more than I said our time, and I know now that landed on her like erasure. Like after 29 years of raising 2 kids and running her own dental hygiene practice out of a strip mall, she'd become furniture in my future, instead of a person in it. I didn't know all of that when I found the texts. I only knew she'd hired a lawyer, moved money without telling me, and was planning something for the party that she wanted to hit different in front of everyone I'd worked with for 3 decades. So I made a call of my own. I have a friend from college, Natalie, who's practiced family law for almost 20 years, though not in our county, so there's no conflict. I met him for lunch on a Tuesday and told him everything. He asked me one question that mattered more than any other. Do you want to save the marriage, or do you want to protect yourself in case it's already over? I told him I honestly didn't know which one I wanted, but I knew I didn't want to find out the answer at a party with a microphone involved. Natalie walked me through what was mine going in. The Winston Street duplex, clean, premarital, never commingled. My 401k had a portion vested before we married that was separately traceable to old statements I'd kept in a filing cabinet for no reason other than I never throw anything away. The joint accounts were genuinely joint, and I wasn't going to touch those unfairly. But I moved my direct deposit for my final 2 paychecks into an account in my name the way any person about to retire reasonably would, to manage a rollover. Nothing I did was hidden or illegal. Every dollar had a paper trail, Natalie reviewed line by line. The one decision that probably matters most to how you'll judge this is that on August 5th, 3 days before the party, I let Natalie file a petition for dissolution on my behalf, not because I wanted the divorce, because I'd read enough to know that whoever files first in our state sets the venue and the initial terms of the conversation, and I was not going to let someone hand me that decision over a microphone in front of my old boss. I told no one. Not Nicolette, not Tristan, not my brother. I went to work my last 2 weeks like normal. Davida and I still ate dinner together, still watched the same shows, still slept in the same bed. She seemed lighter that week, almost giddy, humming while she did the dishes. I understand now she thought she was about to get her moment. I think some part of her needed it after years of feeling like an afterthought. I don't think she's a villain in her own story. I think she was tired of being one in mine. The party was at the Elks Lodge on Route 9. HR put together a slideshow. My old shift supervisor gave a speech that made half the room laugh about the time I flooded the break room trying to fix the ice machine myself in 1998. My boss, a guy named Roger who I'd worked under for 6 years, handed me a plaque and a gift card to a fishing outfitter. Nicolette flew in from Denver. Tristan brought his girlfriend. It was, up until that point, a genuinely good night. Then Davida asked Roger if she could say a few words, which wasn't on the program. Roger, having no idea what he was walking into, handed her the mic like it was the most natural thing in the world. She talked for maybe 90 seconds about how proud she was of me, how far I'd come from the 27-year-old she married. People were smiling. My mother-in-law was recording it on her phone. Then she said the line about one more gift and handed me the envelope. I opened it right there because 200 people were watching and stopping to open it privately would have looked stranger than just doing it. Inside was a copy of a divorce petition with her attorney's letterhead, dated for filing that following Monday, along with a handwritten note that said, "Enjoy your retirement. I'm starting mine too." I looked up at her. I didn't raise my voice. I said, "Natalie filed on my behalf last Tuesday. I've had a lawyer for 6 weeks. The Winston Street property, my premarital 401k funds, all of it is already documented and separated. There's nothing in here that's a surprise to me." She went pale in a way I'd never seen on her before, not even when her father passed. "You knew," she said. "Not a question. I found the transfers in June," I said. "I found the texts to Oma in July. I know you wanted this to land different at the party. I'm sorry it didn't." Roger cleared his throat and said something about cutting the cake, and the DJ, bless him, put on music way too fast for the mood in the room. Nicolette pulled her mother into the hallway. Tristan came over to me looking like he'd aged 5 years in 5 minutes and asked if it was true. I told him yes. Davida left before dessert was served. My mother-in-law stopped recording. A few coworkers came up to me over the next hour, awkward, unsure what to say. One guy from the machine shop just squeezed my shoulder and said, "Haluva send off, boss," like it was a joke because he didn't know what else to do with it. The divorce is moving through now, mostly uncontested since so much was already documented before either filing hit a courthouse. Davida got the house on Persimmon Lane. I kept Winston Street and my retirement accounts split the way Natalia and her attorney worked out, which was fair by any accounting. Nicolette isn't speaking to me much right now. She thinks I let her mother walk into a room and humiliate herself when I could have pulled her aside privately weeks earlier and just told her I knew. Tristan thinks I did the only reasonable thing available to a man who found out his wife of 29 years wanted an audience for his downfall. I go back and forth on it most nights in the garage. I finally got around to turning into a wood shop. I had 6 weeks where I could have said something quietly. A conversation in the kitchen instead of a folded piece of paper on a stage. I chose to let her walk into it instead, and I've asked myself more than once if that was protecting myself or punishing her. So, Reddit. AITA for letting my wife go through with humiliating herself in front of 200 people at my retirement party when I'd already made sure there was nothing left for her plan to actually take from me.